All right.
What's up, folks?
Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining Everything to Gain, episode 18. And today we're going to talk about the dead internet theory. As always, my name is Dan Yu.
Mark Angelos.
And we're here to talk about making positive changes in your life. And so today we're talking about the dead internet theory, what it is, and things to think about. So
Why it matters.
Why it matters, right? And let's start with the origins.
So what is the dead internet theory, Dano?
Well, it started off as a joke conspiracy theory. It's like 15 years ago now. That the vast majority of what you read on the internet is fake, right? It's driven by bots. And I'll remember, the time when this is even before really dead internet theory, when you start reading articles, you're like, wow, it's like an advertisement, but it's sold as an article, right? And so that's really the growth of sponsored content, right? And so but the definition of the dead internet theory is an idea that asserts the internet mainly consists of bot activity and automatically generated content manipulated by algorithmic curation. That's a lot of syllables.
I want to put some context around this for folks listening. The whole idea after COVID, as you guys remember, every business went online, and then social platforms became the way to drive business, much to the chagrin of the folks who were just trying to make networking. That's what's going on right now. However, the birth of AI as a generative thing, it's November 2022, OpenAI, you now have this endless stream of crap content being dumped onto these platforms. We all know this. So the dead internet theory goes from being something funny, X-Files in the 80s was interesting, to now all of a sudden, what is real and what isn't real matters, because if you're trying to drive business, switch careers, if you're trying to do something of a business nature off of the social platforms, this is now a factor. So that's why we're addressing this.
Yeah, and so the proponents of this idea of the dead internet theory, they believe that bots are intentionally creating, right, the algos to make more algos, right, and boost search results, right? And so, and then there's the other flip side of it that some believe that government, nation states, right, are using bots to manipulate public opinion. We actually already know that happens.
Yeah,
you know that happens. So today, there's a lot of trends. So while the dead internet theory may not be a complete fact, there's definitely a lot of trends that we should watch out for. Number one, increased bot activity, right? So in 2016, so this is 8 years ago, 52% of web traffic was generated by bots, and that's actually gone up.
It's crazy.
AI generated content, images and texts. People have their AI generated profile pictures on LinkedIn, right? We have pictures of Shrimp Jesus. We have the Tom Cruise deep fake from a couple years ago where he's just laughing at the camera, but it's a total deep fake. So there's all of this content that's being created now, and search engines, right, and social media platforms, they're using these algos to filter the content. But how can they tell what's real and what's not? And that's a big problem.
Right. They can't,
right? I mean,
and in many cases, a lot of these things are selling advertising dollars against it. So these platforms don't care that there's bots on there. If I can tell you that this many viewership eyeballs, that's money in my pocket if I'm a platform.
Right. And at the same time, search, right? We covered a little bit this last week. Search is moving from Google, right, to AI.
Yeah.
Right? So, that's the whole move from the democratization of knowledge and information to being served up for you, right, with the custom LLMs.
Right.
So we have some news this week.
We do?
Yeah, big news. Hot off the presses.
What's our news?
Hot off the presses. So OpenAI, the parent company for ChatGPT. So even with all the turmoil and all the things going on, from Sam Altman getting booted out of the company to coming back to pretty much the whole executive team, leaving over the past couple of weeks, OpenAI, which runs ChatGPT, just announced that they raised 6.6 billion with a billion dollars. Significant, right? Microsoft, biggest investor, SoftBank, $500 million. To now they have a valuation of 157 billion. So
yeah. So for context, for those who aren't from the finance world, this is the largest capital raise in history. These checks being written are gargantuan. The companies backing them are humongous. It's the question on the finance folks' mind is it too late into the cycle? Are they taking a big risk? But either way, this is notable news.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the most valuable privately held companies,
Right.
ever, right?
Actually, on that note, real fast, that switch from for-profit to non-profit to for-profit is why they're having such turnover. The folks who started that company, along with Elon, are all leaving right now because of that. But anyway, carry on.
But that will actually create some competition, right? Because you can imagine that the people that left, they're going to start their own thing. It's going to be something that's going to be similar, in the business model.
Right.
A couple of stats that everybody should be aware of. Weekly, they have 250 million users. I'm one of them.
It's pretty good.
Right? They have 11 million paid users. So they're already making money, right? Already making money. And apparently there's 1 million businesses that are users. 1 million. Who knew that, that could happen?
Yeah, but how many of these folks that are these users are using it to make artificial content, right? They're just Gen AI content crap that they're just pumping out for their companies.
Well, I mean, could it be fake content? Who knows, right? I mean, could it be nation states, right? Who knows what they're pushing out. So what do you think the implications of this are?
I mean, personally, you're asking my opinion?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it becomes harder to form relationships. It becomes harder to create the know, like, and trust factor that is required for selling as a solopreneur or an entrepreneur. I think that companies that want to build brand, the sea of noise has magnified massively. It's a lot of downside negatives that folks aren't quite taking into account rather when they're trying to figure out their marketing.
It's great. It's great. The know, like, and trust. That is a great point. And by the way, I'd love to hear opinions from the audience too. What do you think about the dead internet theory, the implications around ChatGPT doing this huge capital raise? I think that going for profit from a nonprofit, I think it was bound to happen. Right, it was bound to happen. Right? We're all human, and we're all there to make money, right? So
I'm going to share a 10-second story, which, Dan, you'll relate to. Coming out of Wall Street, for-profit motives end up, if you go to the extreme, companies do bad things. Like they trade with sanctioned nations, they bend the rules around their dark pool, they do a lot of stuff that gets them in trouble. But that's just money. When you're dealing with AI, like people doing really bad things with AI potentially is a different level of, we need to be careful with a for-profit AI company funded by soulless megalith corporations. That's my opinion.
But so if they're a for-profit company, right? So they're not just funded by, or I should say, they're invested by large companies. They're going to go work with the highest bidders,
right?
And so the highest bidders, whoever they may be, could be a company, could be a nation state. What are they going to do?
Well, we know who the highest bidders are going to be the wealthiest companies or organizations.
Right. Right. So what are they going to do? They're going to say, I want your attention. Here's more money than the next guy,
right?
The next company. So the highest bidders are going to control information, which they sort of always have, right?
You could argue that's already going on.
Yeah, that's kind of the whole idea with everything from tabloid newspapers, right? So it's all the same, right? It's all the same. And I mean, tabloid newspapers have long been right? Written for an elementary education. So it's like the dumbing down is going to be accelerated.
This is the standing in line at the supermarket when I was a kid. Man gives birth to triplets. That stuff. UFOs land in Ohio.
Weekly World News, the best.
Weekly World News.
Oh, that was the best.
That was the difference is that's going on now by the minute.
Right.
And it looks convincing. By the way, some of these ads, these political ads, these deep fake political ads that are hilarious. Both ways, Democrats and Republican.
So funny. But like, so now if you think of, that, here in the US, we do have some semblance of guardrails, some semblance. There's no guardrails in other countries, right? Right. So will the AI, right? Will the dead internet theory actually be supported and expanded upon from countries where there's no guardrails?
We haven't talked about this, Dano, but are you familiar with Chinese engagement farms? If you go online and look this up, there's entire like database warehouses that are meant to just piss you off and get engagement going because it gets platform eyeballs. They sell engagement by sowing discontent and anger on it's like a business model.
Yeah, it's not just a business model. They get paid, right? Because they're bringing eyeballs to their platform. And I mean that's the algo of the algos, right?
Right. It's fostering arguments on purpose. So you end up in a food fight on Twitter, X, for no reason other than someone else is making money off of you getting pissed off about this.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And it's not just I'm sure it's not just Chinese engagement farms. I mean, actually there was an article about the North Koreans doing this too, right? That long have suspected both Russian and Iran, right? Companies are doing this too. So it's like that most people will get fooled, right? Maybe they won't get fooled by the fake news every day, but they might get fooled by the bot that's arguing with them.
So Tom has a comment here, which Tom I want to address, and I appreciate taking the time. He says that most folks aren't tech savvy enough to understand what's happening and the implications. He's referencing the fact that fake information is more of it than ever before. There's someone getting rich off of it, right? If we already know the concept of if you're not the product, or if you're not paying for the product, you are the product.
You are always the product. Yeah.
So the point of this, and thank you, Tom, is that there is a financial incentive for these platforms to have fake information. Both the users, bot farm, Chinese, whatever, are going to make money. The platforms can sell advertising at a greater amount. So the concept of the dead internet theory, while it was quaint and interesting in the conspiracy circles, is now a business reality.
It's a business model. Right.
So we need to address this.
Right. So how do we address it? Right. I don't know if we can necessarily.
I think we can.
You think we can? You think we can fight the algos?
I think that building a community is the answer here. So this is just my opinion, but if as a small business owner, entrepreneur, you want to start thinking about in a world where there's fake content everywhere and people literally don't know who to trust, that becomes your value prop. You're selling trust now.
Fine. But then if you build a community and you have multiple voices that are talking with each other, but some of the voices may have read the fake stuff online.
Right. So number one, lives. What we're doing here right now, two knuckleheads talking live about something, is going to become a differentiator. It probably already is, because you can AI avatar this all you want. But when people know when there's real people, still, the day may come, but right now, lives. Number two, taking a strong opinion on things, right? These companies are trying to fit in and sell all things to all people. People want to know, like, who's the human behind it all. And I think the more you can show that becomes a differentiator. So like the dead internet theory, we're not going to solve it. I agree with you, but there are steps you can take. They're really personal branding steps, Dan, which sure. I know you know a little bit about.
So great. So personal brand aside, how do you know I'm real? Number one, right? And two, like, how do you know that I'm not being influenced? Right? How do you know? Right? How do you know?
I know you're real because I had to suffer next to you brushing your teeth at the trading desk.
Hey, you can do what you got to do, right?
But after the garbage pail,
I wasn't barefoot. At least I wasn't barefoot on the trade desk.
Anyway,
which we know who that was. But
anecdotes, though, to the point, this is a meta example here. That little stupid story, you and I joking around this, people get to know you personally becomes a business proposition for you, the listener.
Right. The authenticity has to come through, right? But here's the thing that I think is the most important part about the dead internet theory is that the AI will continue to cite other AI, right? It will cite itself even as fact. And so that's that circular kind of like trash, notion, right?
Can I expand on that for a second?
Absolutely.
For those who aren't following the AI, I know we all know about AI, but if you're not really in the weeds on this, there's a concept in the AI world, LLM specifically, called synthetic learning. The AIs have run out of internet, basically. They've consumed everything human.
Yeah, it was like last year when it was like all of human knowledge was like, oh, we're good.
In the news this week, Udemy, whatever, they're trying to they're scraping their own courses for AI. As you know, LinkedIn opted people in. Dan, you posted about this. Whether you liked it or not, you're getting scraped for AI. However, they've run out of information. So now the machines themselves are generating synthetic artificial answers and informative pieces that they can teach their own AI. So it's like the snake is eating its own tail kind of thing. AI is training on AI at this point already.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we've seen actually a lot of examples in real time, right? So there's the faceless Instagram accounts, right? Which you actually showed me about, which is hilarious. But
so they're killing it. Faceless Instagram accounts are people who are using AI generated text around a topic to plug that into AI generated video around a topic. You can even use, your 11 Labs and throw your voice in there. And then you just post it. And there's a constant stream of high production value, high quantity creation of fake content, really.
Right.
The person behind it, you'll never know. And those folks are making millions per month.
Yeah.
Real money.
It's funny. It's the never ending cycle, right? That we just are a part of it, whether or not we like it. Right. So, and then there's that new thing, social AI, right?
So you turned me onto this. For those who aren't familiar, there's a new app you can download called Social AI. Its premise, this is the sales pitch, this is the feature,
right?
Not the bug.
It's not a bug, it's a feature.
It's hard to keep a straight face as I explain to you what this does. It is a social media platform that is proud of the fact that it is completely AI. They share this. They're all bots. Everything you will interact with is a bot. The only non-bot on there is you. So as you get on there, you're engaging with fake machinery. And the concept is it's almost a place for you to argue it out, right? It's like you can go and quote unquote educate the machines. And then on the back end, of course, they haven't said this, but as a business mind, I know they're harvesting that data to train.
Oh, 100%. Right. It's like Rock'em Sock'em Robots.
But here's the interesting part. This thing has had like 20,000 downloads in the first few days. Like, it's a hit. People are interested in that.
Yeah, absolutely. So comment from the audience, Mike McLean. Mike, thanks so much for joining us today.
Shout out, Mike. Good to see you.
Already seeing many of these AI sites returning the same data, stating the obvious, but AI lacks real creativity. So combining personal relationships with creativity is the recipe for success. Well, that's why we're here. Right?
Mike, you nailed it, man. Personal relationship. And I know you well enough, you can build that. Folks who can build relationships personally, and I mean like in person, can do so digitally. And that is it, man. That's where your money is all going to come from, no matter what you're selling.
That's the future, right? It's got to be a level of skepticism, right, that we have to bring to everything we read, right? Whether it's on social or in the news, right? Because we've actually seen news jump on fake stories and then push it out as news, right?
Right.
We've seen it just recently. They're eating the dogs. So
they're eating the cats.
Yeah. So a healthy skepticism to everything we read, I think, is necessary.
I think we're already there, though. Like, people don't know what to believe and what not to believe. Right? I don't believe any of what
I think there's a healthy segment of the populace, global populace, that reads something on the internet and they take it as true.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of folks that the flat earthers and the Bigfoot folks, right? I mean, that's still going on.
Yeah, they're all over the world, right? The flat earthers, right? They're all around. Oh my gosh.
They're all across the disc.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point is, if you're in the business side of things, you're looking to switch careers, you're starting up a company, whatever you're doing, you got to start thinking about content strategies that involve you personally. It involves building community and connection. Right? We're seeing this big spread right now of community engagement. People that are paying money to be part of things like masterminds, the school communities. There's a lot of the whole big thing of, I used to just get my content online. Now I can't trust that anymore. So now I want to get my content from people.
Right. So get your content from people, but you still have to be skeptical, right? You still have to have that, have the radar on to potentially what they may be bringing to the table, right?
I think this goes back to the old one. Just like in IRL, don't take advice from people who haven't done what you're looking to do. Right? You don't want the fat guy giving you fitness advice. You don't want the poor guy giving you rich advice. It's the same world we're in now online.
So authenticity, right? In-person IRL, right? Or in content, it's got to be where we go, right? It's got to be where we go. And everything else, right? It's got to be a differentiator, right? So in whatever you do. So anyway, I would love to give a plug to last week's episode. We had a quote from last week. Shout out to our guest from last week, Aaron McKelkey. He brought this quote, scrolling on the bottom of the screen there. You will either learn to use AI or you will be used by AI. So
it's great.
I mean, it's the same thing. Like either you're the punk or being punked, right? So
the real irony, for those who didn't catch that episode, Aaron is a school teacher where they're not allowed to use AI for the most part inside those school systems. And so he's teaching his students how to use AI.
And
so
actively encouraging it, right? And so he's not just teaching them the topics. He's using AI to enhance their thinking, right?
Right.
And I mean, they still have to bring their own opinions and their own thoughts to it, but he's using AI actively. So and he's also teaching those AI skills as a side hustle, right? So where he's actually actively teaching those classes.
Just a quick comment on AI, and for those who are trying to learn prompt engineering right now, which I think eventually we won't need to worry about. The machines will do it themselves. But in the old days, I remember my kids were teenagers and they would Google stuff and not be able to find the right answer and come to me, and then I could get it out of Google. And they asked me at one point, how come you get answers from Google that we can't? And the answer really, as I told them, is it's critical thinking. And this applies to prompting right now. If you're not on the AI and figuring out how this machine works, like literally what's the back end, how this thing thinks, how to frame up the question, context, how to give it what you want, but to couch it first so it understands the directional. These are like skills, no different from talking to people, looking them in the eye, shaking hands. I think that's the skill sets that folks will need right now, because we're entering a world where you're combining the human side of things with a front end of AI. So it might be
Yeah, one of the things that we were discussing last week was that Gen Alpha will be the last generation that remembers how to Google.
Yeah, right. But even Googling now is already different. Like Google currently Googles itself differently than it used to years ago.
Yeah, just even a couple of years ago, right? But search itself, right? Search itself, and then how we interact with information is totally changing. It's going to TikTok. It's going to Perplexity. It's going to ChatGPT, right? It's going to other sources, right? And it's going to YouTube, obviously YouTube, but
my 16-year-old was telling me they were having strength contests in high school. They were trying to tear textbooks in half, the guys. And I went out of the closet and fished out an old Yellow Pages phone book. I kid you not. He goes, "What the hell is this?" And I'm like, "Dude, this is before the internet. We used to look up businesses on this thing." He's staring at it. He's like, "What?" He's like, "I don't even have the skills to look stuff up in here." Right? I'm like, "It's alphabetical. You can figure it out." The point is, that's where we're going now with AI. Like, you don't want to be using the phone book. You got to know how to use this thing. And you need to know how to integrate it with your EQ skills. If you're building a business, if you're switching jobs, this is the new set of skills you're going to need.
Right. EQ over IQ. We talk about that almost every week. But do you remember the old Yellow Pages kind of like tagline?
Let your fingers do the walking?
Yes. Let your fingers do the walking. Oh, so funny.
It's hilarious.
Yeah. At the old phone book, right? And I mean, it's always funny how the you see those videos where some parent is trying to get their kid to use a rotary phone, or you know,
Oh, it's great.
some piece of an anachronism. But like I think that's those skills, right? To have that EQ to then understand how it used to be, right, is just as important as how it might be,
Right.
right? Like for past looking, but forward looking as well.
I think the concept, to tie this back to the dead internet theory, and the reason we wanted to do this program, this topic on the program, it's going to become a reality of business building, of career switching. And I think that people need to start figuring out how to navigate. The dead internet theory may or may not be true. Like, there may or may not be Russian bots trying to manipulate your mind. I'm not going down the conspiracy road. But the truth is, there's a lot of noise out there. What's that?
I'm happy to.
I mean, if we want to get to a business result and we're
Yeah,
operating in the social media world, this is the thing you have to be able
right.
to navigate.
Right. So in person, in real life, relationships are the most important thing. A comment from the audience, Tom Dondero again. AI is using landlines to get the old folks, that would be me, and some of the other gullible people. AI is going to adapt. Any thoughts?
It's already going on, Tom. So to your point, they now have if you guys aren't familiar with this scam, your kid contacts you in your voice that they're in trouble, they're
In their voice, yeah.
arrested, and they need
Yep.
you to send money.
Yep.
Right, it's not real. They pulled the voice off of the social media and contacted through the AI the parent's phone number. So yeah, that's already a problem. And I agree with you. AI is using landlines. You're not old, Tom. Um, by the way, age is a number, folks. It's how well you can navigate life. It's not the number on attached to you. My view. I think that the way we have to adapt to that knowing that AI, you have to think of it as a person. But literally, this is back to the Nigerian prince trying to take your wallet. Right? You have to think this thing is in the world and it operates like a person, and it could be good and it could be bad. You know, if it's good, it's the Jedi. If it's bad, it's the Sith. But the reality, the Force is a real thing. So once you know that and you operate from the perspective of, well, okay, to your point, Dan, that I may be dealing with, bad. I think that you'll be fine. Like, it's not to wish that it doesn't exist or that it's bad or good. It doesn't matter. It's just a reality to navigate. Kind of like
Right.
the internet.
Yeah, but so how do you know? How do you know? You don't know.
Dan is older, he says.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm not going to acknowledge that, Tom. Thanks. But understanding that there are bad actors out there, right? And they're going to do whatever they can to manipulate you, right? If it's for money or it's for information or opinion, like it's coming. So you might as well actually go on to Perplexity, go on to ChatGPT, and get better at those skills, so that when it's going to come at you, and you can recognize it.
So I would say AI becomes our friend when we use it as an outreach tool. I'm okay using AI. I'm not anti-AI. However, know that content/AI is the front end, right? That starts at the process. But to get over to home plate, like the back end of this is in-person relationship. I mean, like, you shake their hand. That
Yep.
may not always be the case with the digital channels. I get that, but the skills of that are going to be relevant.
Yep, absolutely. In person, in real life, using your empathy, your emotional intelligence to understand what your audience, the person sitting across from you, or if it's a group of people that are listening to, what are they going to hear from you, and how can you see their reactions, right? Understand where their motivations are, asking the right questions, so that that you can actually get stuff done, building your business, understand the customer.
I as a piece of practical advice, I would advise start giving thought to doing lives. I don't care even if you're just looking to switch jobs, if you're building business, like, who is the real you is going to become a question. And in the many years ahead, I kind of foresee blockchain being a factor here where you can prove your identity. But proving your identity online is already a problem.
Yeah,
So
they're right, and actually that's come up over the past few months, right? Instead of two-factor authentication, right, having passkeys, right? So now that AI can actually break into your telephone line, they can actually scoop your two-factor authentication.
they've
So
changed something in the matrix. They've cut the hard line, Daniel. So my point is,
I know Kung Fu.
I just want people to start thinking, okay, I need to find ways to show the real authentic me, because that itself becomes a sales proposition. Like it's clear that you and I are a bunch of knuckleheads doing this live, and that makes us more approachable, and that opens up a better chance for either of us to land business, whatever we're doing. Same is true for you listening.
So with that, Mark, you have any final thoughts before we sign off here?
The final thoughts I'd be, if you're not already monkeying around figuring out how to use content to help build your authenticity, you're losing. So get on top of the AI thing. Number two, I would start thinking about, how do I get authentication on the platform through things like live streams, community building, start helping people. It's almost digital networking becomes more important in a world of fake. Those are my tips.
Yeah, I know. I totally agree. And I think the best way to learn and to continue to learn for your own knowledge is to spread the wealth, right?
Yeah.
And continue to coach and help other people. So with that, this has been another episode of Everything to Gain. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for the questions, Tom. Good seeing you guys. Thanks for listening.
Mike, great. Everybody in the audience.
Mike, shout out to you, bud.
Yeah. As always, you can find our show on LinkedIn Live and also on Twitch. And
Tom's great. Tom says he's a bot. Now that's authentic.
That's authentic because I've seen him. So, and also on YouTube. So at E2G Show on YouTube and Twitch. You can find our recordings there. Please leave us comments, like and share and subscribe. We appreciate all the support for our show, and we'll be back every week to talk about things on how to make your positive changes in your life. So
yeah, we may have some fisticuffs next week for you.
Like the Rock'em Sock'em Robot.
Yeah.
Rock'em Sock'em Robot. And then one of our heads is going to fall off. So our intro music is produced by LJ Tisdale. And with that, have a good rest of your week and weekend.
Peace.
All right. See ya.